Hey guys, what's up? It's Avarice. Today I'm going to be building Gold Paladin Liberators, a limit break deck. Limit break is kind of old school at this point, but you know what? Stick to the classics because this deck really works. And even though Stride is the big thing right now, I still always say, go for what works. And Gancelot works. He's the main card of this deck, which you will see in a moment. Gold Paladin is all about calling units from the deck to your field to increase your numbers, much like Royal Paladin, considering they were used by the same character in the anime. That's not really a surprise. That being said, I'm not going to waste time on a long intro this time because that's just obnoxious. Let's get to the deck. Using Cardfight area again, by the way, because doing this in real life would cost me so much money. I wish I could, though. Alright, starting off with your trigger lineup, as last time, I go for a, once again, rather offensive set of triggers. Don't really screw around with stand triggers all that much, simply because of the main Vanguard skill of putting cards back into the deck. You can use it if you want, and I know a lot of people who use stand triggers in Royal Paladin, or Gold Paladin, this is not Royals, Gold Paladin. Personally, I don't care for it, but then again, like I said, I don't really care for stand triggers in general. So I go with, always go for Liberator named triggers, by the way, just as a rule. I go for Liberator of Hope Epona and Liberator of Ambition Esus. They're the Liberator stand or critical triggers. They don't really have any skills. I don't think any of the Liberator cards have any skills at this point. If there are, please correct me, and I will put them in, but as of this moment, I don't believe that there are any that would really work. For the draw trigger, Armament Liberator Gwydion. Gwydion? Yeah, Gwydion. And again, no skills really, just good draw trigger. I think no, the other one is Lucky Charmy. You can also use him. He actually comes with the trial deck, so he's probably a better choice. Because I'm using Cardfight area, I can use whatever I want, just picked a random one. But yeah, you can also go with Lucky Charmy if you decide to start with that. And then the heal trigger, you can either go with Liberator of Elixir or Liberator of the Holy Tree, Elkia. Elkia is in the starter deck as well. So again, smarter choice if you've started with that. Alright, and then for the starter, again, starter deck, I keep mentioning this stupid thing. Actually, it's pretty decent in terms of a starter deck, especially for pre-G series, aka pre-perfect guards in the starter deck. So the Genius Liberator, Waltimell, or whatever his name again is in real life. That being said, I'm not going to correct myself every time I say this because I actually do have this card in real life. His name is not that, so I'm just going to have that in the description again of all the card names, as I did last time. Also, I'm going to put a link to Cardfight area this time because I realized I didn't put that in the last video as of recording this one. And if anyone wants to use Cardfight area and doesn't know how to find it, aside from just like a Google search, whatever, that way you can do it. Next is the Flying Sword Liberator Gorlois. I put in 3 of him. This one is a little bit eh. I like the counter charge on this. This is the Holy Mage Pryderi. If you're building this deck in real life, I would recommend going for one of the Liberator perfect guards. Simply because they are 1, cheaper, and 2, probably aren't gonna mess you up as hard. Halo Liberator Mark, if you don't want to go with Pryderi, is a good one. And then I believe, no, that's just normal Halo Shield Mark. I'm not entirely sure which one the Quintet Wall is. Personally, 1, I'm not a fan of Quintet Walls because 1, they use Counterblast, and 2, they just wreck your deck. But I would really go more for Perfect Guards in this situation, especially with this deck since it is not Legion, and therefore you have no way of getting those cards back from your drop zone to your deck. Unless it's a Gancelot card. There's one card that can put Gancelots back in your deck, but he's the exception. And so, either one really, either Pryderi or Mark, for your perfect guard. Then I put in 2 Liberator Bright Bicorns and 4 Mayrain Liberator Bruno. By the way, one of my favorite cards in Gold Paladin, if not my favorite card just overall in Gold Paladin, is Bruno here. He is so wonderful. Alright, next we move on to grade 2s. Invitation Liberator Belly, temporarily forgot how to speak, and Liberator of Oath Aglovale. We're going to do 2 Belly and 3 Aglovale. Alright, and then next is 3 Liberator of Royalty Fallon, 2 Reticent Liberator Brennius, that had to be a translation error, and then 2 Side Flute Liberator Exorado. These two, just as a side note, when I explain their skills, it'll make more sense. They have one of my favorite combinations of Royal Paladin, and it's funny because they're both size 2 and really aren't that grade 3 dependent. I've pulled their combination off when I was at grade 2. So, it's pretty fun if you can get it there, but I'll do skills later. Next, 4 of the Solitary Liberator Gancelot, and then his Break Ride, 4 Liberator of Bonds Gancelot Zenith. And then as for strides, we'll do 4 Galloping Golden Knight Cambell, and 2 Golden Spearcross Dragon. Golden Dragon Spearcross Dragon. I didn't say that right. And then if you run over to the Cray Elementals, yep, we're leaving Gold Paladin for a second. I put in 2 Snow Element Blizzas. Again, I'll explain the strangeness of using a Cray Elemental at this day and age, though for some decks it really does work. Alright, so one card that you might want to use, I'm not sure, this one's risky for me, is Bluish Flame True Liberator Holy Flame. The thing about Holy Flame is that he doesn't put cards to the bottom of your deck when you're calling them. He puts them to your drop zone. So he's the only skill that I'm really going to explain because I'm not going to go back to him. So I'm just going to explain him now. The main thing of Gold Paladin is that when you look at like the top 3, 4, 5, whatever cards of your deck, call them to rear guard, and then the cards you didn't call you put to the bottom of your deck. He doesn't. He puts them to your drop zone. And like I said, this is a limit break deck, so you're not going to be able to put those back. Meaning, if you get 2 perfect guards and a heal trigger, it can happen, you're going to be screwed because you're only going to be able to call one of those cards and the rest are going to your drop zone. So you're going to be out of some serious power no matter what. That usually doesn't happen, by the way, but it can. It is definitely possible. So Holy Flame, not my favorite, but if you want to use him, you can. First one to explain is the starter, Genius Liberator Waltimell. Thing about Waltimell is that originally I wasn't going to use him as my starter because, what? You're using the starter in a trial deck? What's wrong with you? Actually, I actually find him to be a very good card in this situation because of simply the power boost. And while you can't get him off the field, if you need to, you can just straight up retire him and it's fine. It's not going to cost you too much power. But he's a good 8k booster. And if you are missing Bruno, and you just need that extra power in the rear guard, he is the only 8k booster you're going to get, because I don't run vanillas in this deck. And so all you really need is 4 more boosted units between your Vanguard and 3 other units, which is really easy to get considering it's Gold Paladin, and you're going to be, like, calling out the wazoo all the time. I just said that. Oh my god. Ignoring the fact that I just used the word wazoo in a sentence, Waltimell, I'd say, is a good booster. You don't have to use him. There are a lot of other Liberator starters, especially with the Forerunner ability. By the way, don't ever not use the Forerunner ability. It's just, don't. Please. So, Waltimell, I'm going to go down now and look at Flying Sword Liberator Gorlois. Obviously, he's not a card you're going to use unless you run Gancelot as your main Vanguard, simply because of his skill. And his skill is, you can, in your main phase, take a card with Gancelot from your drop zone and put it to the bottom of your deck. Now, you may ask the question, how are you going to get Gancelot into your drop zone? That's where Stride comes in. He's really awesome with Stride, because all of your grade 3s have Gancelot in their name. So whenever you Stride, if you use a grade 3-2 Stride, you are going to put that into your drop zone. And then, honestly, I see this card as having no repercussions, which is great, because you're putting a card back into your deck, and considering this is Gold Paladin, that's awesome. And you get to give 5,000 power to your Vanguard, if it has Gancelot in its card name, which, again, if you're at a grade 3, it will. Next is the Holy Mage Pryderi. Not much to be said about Pryderi. My perfect guard in the last video is the same skill. Choose a card from your hand, discard it, can't be hit, normal perfect guard skill, and then if you have one of him in the drop zone, you get to choose from your damage zone and turn it face up. So yeah, basic G series Sentinel. Not much to be said about him. The next one is Liberator Bright Bicorn. I only run 2 of him, which is a tad risky, but I think Gorlois is a better card, as is Bruno. Bruno's a much better card. This is your limit break enabler. I don't think I've ever had to use him, but he's always good to have, you know, just in case you happen to have the perfect combination of Gancelot and Gancelot Zenith in your hand right from the get-go. You know, you can get him on the field and you can limit break at 3, 2, whatever. If you're limit breaking at 2 damage, I don't know what you're doing watching my videos. You are clearly a master of Vanguard, or you are extremely lucky, like main character lucky. And so he's really just a normal limit break enabler. There's one in every clan, I hope, by now. The next card is Mega Rain Liberator Bruno, aka one of the greatest cards in Vanguard. You really think he wouldn't be that great, but I have seen him get to 24,000 power. Needless to say, I lost that fight. I was not the one using Bruno. That card kicked me around the field so bad. He is priceless in terms of a booster, because you are going to be calling cards from your deck a lot. So if you have him behind your Vanguard is going to get boosted by like a lot of power. Reasons why I don't run other, you know, normal 10k boosters, 6,000, give 4,000 when, fill in the blank. Because Bruno can get way past that number. I've seen him, I don't remember what his record is. 24 is what I've gotten offhand, but I'm sure he's gotten higher. If you manage to pull off some really good combos of just getting cards on and off your deck, or on and off your field, then he's really good. If you're not focusing on that as much, well, that is Liberator's Gold Paladin's main thing for one. But if you manage to get around that and you just don't want to use that mechanic, I wouldn't use Bruno, because his skill is only activated when a rearguard is placed from your deck. Alright, now going down to grade 2s. Invitation Liberator Belly. Counterblast 1 and put into your soul. When he attacks a Vanguard, you get to pay the cost and look at 3 cards from the top of your deck, search for 1, and call it to an open rearguard circle. Awesome when you use him with Bruno, but he can only be used for a rearguard. I don't know how this happens, considering there's only 2 of them in the deck. This guy is almost always my Vanguard. I don't understand why it happens, but it does. So, yeah, if he's your Vanguard, you can't use a skill. But there's a card that does work, and I'm going to skip around a little bit to go down and see Exorado. Exorado's skill is that when you counterblast 1 and his attack hits Vanguard, if you have a gold paladin Vanguard, you can pay the cost, look at the top card of your deck and search for a gold paladin among it, put it to open rearguard circle, and put the rest at the bottom of the deck. He is slightly better than Belly, because he doesn't have to go to the soul, but at the same time, Belly gets to look at the top 3 cards. Exorado, if you call like one of your triggers and you really don't want it on your field, then he doesn't work as well. Belly, you get at least a little bit of variety. But my favorite size 2 combo, size 2, this is Buddy Fight, I'm gonna keep doing that. Grade 2 combo is between Exorado and Brennius. What you do is you go with Exorado, and his skill, you use it, counterblast, get a card onto your rearguard circle, which then activates Brennius, and that says when another of your units is placed on rearguard from your deck, since you have Liberator in your card name, he gets plus 2,000 power, and when his attack hits a Vanguard, you get to choose a card from the damage zone face up. When this is pulled off correctly, you get to call a card from your deck, give a card 2,000 power at basically no cost, because Brennius unflips Exorado's Counterblast. I like that these two work together very well, and I like that Exorado can be used more than once, unlike Belly, because once he's in the soul, since this isn't Pale Moon, he's not coming back out. The next cards are Liberator of Oath Aglovale and Liberator of Royalty Fallon. Aglovale is a one-time use card, which is why in the starter deck, the fact that there's only one of him makes absolutely no sense to me. Like, that just seems sabotage-ish. Sabotage-ish? It's a word. Why not? Aglovale's skill is that when you counterblast 1, when he's placed on rearguard circle, you can look at 3 cards from the top of your deck, search for one with Liberator in its card name, and call it to rearguard circle. If you use Pryderi, he doesn't count. keep in mind, your perfect guard is not a Liberator, unless you use Mark. So, I don't know why you would be calling a perfect guard to your field anyways, that just seems like suicide, but anyways, you can, and Aglovale has to be Liberator, but considering most of these cards are Liberator, I don't see that being really a problem. Not much more to be said about Aglovale. He is someone's Legion mate, but that's not important because I don't use Legion, and if you're using this deck, you won't be using Legion either. That's what Limit Break is for. Next card is Liberator of Royalty Fallon. Fallon's pretty standard. I run 3 of him because he's a nice power boost. When he attacks, if you have Liberator in its card name, which I hope you should at size 2, grade 2, he gets plus 3000 power. Really nothing more to that. So there's your grade 2s, and then we go down to Solitary Liberator Gancelot. Recently, backstory here, I was playing don't ask me why I did this, but I was playing a game of starter decks with one of my friends. And online, of course. And I was playing the Royal Paladin starter deck, the very first trial deck to ever come out for Cardfight Vanguard. The Royal Paladin version of Gancelot was my main Vanguard. That card is so bad. I'm sorry, but it is. It's 9000 power, just on its own. It is vulnerable to everything. That being said, when I hear people complain that Gancelot is not a good break ride, I just kind of laugh a little bit because it's like, oh, you think this Gancelot is bad? Have you played the Royal Paladin version? So, this version of Gancelot is a break ride, and he is just power. That's all his break ride does. You give 10,000 plus power to your Vanguard, as does every break ride, and then choose up to 3 of your Gold Paladin rear guards and give them 5,000 power. I've never actually been able to use his ability to its fullest extent because I never have 3 rear guards on the field at the time. I don't know why. I think that's just me screwing up within the game. If you can figure out a way to combat that, go for it. And let me know, because I would love to be able to use him to the fullest extent. So, Gancelot, he's just power, but the real nice part is Gancelot Zenith, the break ride version. Gancelot Zenith, he is such a good break ride. The reason why is that his limit break ability is Counterblast 1, choose a grade 2 or less rearguard and put it to the bottom of your deck, which is pretty much any rearguard, including Waltimell, mind you, Waltimell from before, and you look at the top card of your deck, call it to an open rearguard circle with plus 10,000 power. Meaning, I found this out recently, if you have like a heal trigger or a trigger you want to put back in your deck, call it to your rearguard. Use Zenith to get it back in your deck. It is totally legal, and it's the only way you're going to get triggers back in your deck with this clan. Well, maybe not clan, but this deck. Between him and your other Gancelot, the Gancelots, they're power. They're just straight power. But it's not necessarily a bad thing, because your deck can get very strong very fast. Need I remind you of Bruno, who, whenever you call a card, gets plus 3000 power. If you can just keep doing this, it's very, very strong. You can only activate Gancelot once because it's a when he attacks. And of course, you know, because if you have Solitary Liberator Gancelot, he gets a continuous plus 2000 power, so a normal grade 3 can't hit him, which is very nice. Alright, now we go down to strides. I just realized this video is considerably shorter than the last one. First one is Galloping Golden Knight Cambell. I've run 4 of him, which probably isn't a great idea, but I'm afraid of the counterblasts for the rest of them, so he's good for Blizza. When his attack hits a Vanguard, you get to look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 among them, call it to rearguard circle. You're going to want to use him in your early game, of course, because your opponent, if you have a lot of power, they're going to get to 5 damage very fast, or 4 damage, and they're not going to be taking as much from your strides. For when he hits, it's nice to get him on there. Use Bruno if you can, but at that point, if Bruno's only behind your Vanguard, then it's not going to do you as much good. But still, it's nice to get cards on your field with a plus 2000 power. Cambell's very straightforward, he's a one-hits. Next card is Golden Dragon Spearcross Dragon. This one's really nice to have once you have used Cambell and Blizza a while. Therefore, I'm going to talk to him about him after I talk about Blizza. So temporarily leaving Gold Paladin to run over to Cray Elemental. Snow Element Blizza! Counter+1, choose a face down card from your G-Zone, turn it face up. Probably Cambell if you're using this, because you're only going to be using this in your late game. When he attacks Vanguard, he gets plus 5,000 power for each face-up card in your G-Zone. You're going to at least be getting 10,000 power because there is no reason why you would need to use this on your first turn. Like, you use Cambell as many times as you possibly can, meaning like 2. Snow Element Blizza can be used twice if you use Cambell as the card to turn it face up, because it doesn't have to turn itself face up, just any card, which is why I would recommend Cambell, so that you can use Blizza twice, and he just gets more and more powerful each time you use him. That reminds me of something. Nope, not going on a Dragon Ball Z rant here. So again, more power. This deck is a serious power deck. I actually haven't named it yet. It's probably going to have something to do with that. I just noticed about that deal. Next card, Golden Dragon, Spearcross Dragon. The way he works is you counterblast 2, which is the reason why I don't run 4 of him. That counterblast 2 can be a bit of a problem. You don't have a lot of cards that uncounterblast in this deck. And you choose a face down card, Golden Dragon, turn it face up, and what's really awesome about him is that you can, like, Pale Moon style inflate your field. You can have 0 rear guards, and through him, just look at 5 cards at the top of your deck, and for each face-up card in your G-Zone, you get to call 1 to separate rear guards, meaning if you have 5 face-up cards in your G-Zone, you can call those 5 cards that you just looked at. I've never had to do that. I think the most I've ever called is 4. If you have Bruno, that's really awesome because that's 12,000 power right there. And then if you have some other skills that you want to activate, you can activate them. Zoran used to be in this deck. I will go up there and show him to you really quickly. The reason I took him out, and actually I would recommend, if you want to edit any cards, I would recommend putting in Zoran, because when he's placed on rear guard circle, you get to put into the soul, look at the top 3 cards. Again, yet another card that kind of goes to the soul, but at the same time, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because that means you get to card 1 more card, use Power Up Bruno. He wasn't working for me, and so I took him out in place of Glorious. But if you can find a way to get him to work for you, and not show up in your hand and damage zone every freaking time, then yeah, go for it. Zoran is a good card to have. I've seen him used properly, and he can be really powerful when coupled with Bruno. But the main point of this card is just to get your field. If you have a full field, then there's really no reason to use Spearcross Dragon, and if you're striding just because you need more cards, I would recommend one of the other ones, because Spearcross Dragon can only be used once, since he has to turn a copy of himself face up. If you want to run 4 of him, you can, but that Counterblast 2 can really be a problem. Use him at your own risk. Obviously, if you use Gancelot a bunch of times, then you're going to have some issues using him, because Counterblast 2 and Gancelot is Counterblast 1. We use cards that can turn things face up. I recommend you seek them out, but at the same time, I don't know. This deck seems pretty balanced. I've never had a Counterblast problem in my time playing it. I don't find it too Counterblast heavy. But if you do, then go ahead, search it for. That's really the only reason I even run the perfect card that I run, is because that's the only card that unflips. So, that being said, that is my Liberator deck for Gancelot Zenith, Liberator of Bonds. I'm gonna come up with a snazzy name for this. I just used snazzy in the same video that I used that other word that I'm not even gonna say again. Alright, well, I'm gonna go cry in a corner, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy this deck. Subscribe and like at your own risk, because I may come find you to give you a hug. No, I won't. I'm too lazy for that. So, tune in whenever I decide to make my next deck, and see ya!